Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. So today, we have two reviews for all of you. The first one is coming from Japan with the latest P.P.P Tokyo event. This one features many matches in this one. The main event features, of course, the Muscle Sisters, consistent of zones from Evolution, and of course P.P.P Tokyo's very own Chanyota. They team up to take on Stardom's very own Saya Ida, and of course, someone you guys seen on the Independence, and of course was involved in the first AEW pay-per-view show. We're talking about Ryo Mizunami. So this is going to be of a somewhat of a female hoss fight, if you ever seen one. So we're actually going to get into that. And then after that, as you know, NXT are heading straight to Chicago for the debut of their CW network. So I'm so excited. But however, for this particular day, we have the NXT tag team titles online. But unfortunately, there were some changes involved with this, and we'll get to that. We also, of course, got the TNA Knockouts World Title defended in an open challenge. So the real question is, which of the NXT women's locker room will be in fact challenging Jordan Grace? And then, of course, we have Julia making her in-ring debut. So people would say, Julia's gonna kill you. Well, she did. And then, of course, our main event, we have the last man standing match for the number one contendership for the NXT Championship at Chicago at the CW debut programming. And then, of course, we kept up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates, what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including, of course, developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world. Pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, I can even put it on the next episode or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us, so click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button, or leave us a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions set aside, it's time to hit the highway. So, let's begin with, of course, our very first review, and this is from the Japanese promotion, P.P.P Tokyo. Okay, P.P.P Tokyo. They just recently had their much recent event called a Splash Carnival Banquet Liberation Front. Now, I don't know why they picked this title, but frankly, I don't think I want to know, but I'd rather just go with the flow. Now, it's been a while since I did one of these reviews. I mean, they don't do monthly previews like I would have thought, monthly events like I would have probably enjoyed, but it pretty much works fine. However, our first match is an intergender tag team match. We have Shota and Riara teaming up to take on Bambi and Koji Doi. So nothing too significant about this match. I mean, other than, of course, I've seen many of these wrestlers in various promotions. I mean, I do remember Shota and Riara, they used to be with Gambari until they went to freelancing. But in this match, I'll just tell you this match ended with Riara picking up the win with the crucifix, and just like that. However, Bambi was not too satisfied, so she protested to the ref about it. But like the old saying goes, the ref's call is final. Our next match, this is a very interesting one. We have Drag K. She faces off against Marika Kobashi. Now remember, Drag K made her re-debut by teaming up with Marika. These two ladies actually knew each other back in their Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling days. Now Dracog kind of graduated and stopped wrestling for a while. This is during time when Marika was barely starting out, and now they're teaming up, and later they teamed up, and now they're the opposite side. However, I'm not saying that Draw K is not a. I feel like there's a lot more we haven't seen her. I mean, I don't know how much ring rust she still has. I know she's trying to reestablish herself, but I kind of figured that Marika Kobashi was definitely going to win this one because we know she hasn't stopped. We know she has been wrestling in various locations, not to mention mostly in P.P.P Tokyo, but she was able to pick up the win with the headlock. But for some odd reason, during the post-match, Riara showed up. Now, I don't know what they said, but I'm sure that she's issuing a challenge, and I'm sure Dracog is accepting it. So that's my conclusion involving that match. Now, our next match, we have Ken Oka, the boss of Gambari. He teams up with P.P.P Tokyo's very own Kentaro Shizu. They take on Hartley Jackson and So Daimonji. Nothing too significant, but we do know that Soy Damonji has been a very tough wrestler. But Shizu, we know he has stand out a whole lot. Sometimes he takes things a little too far, but he couldn't do that because it was in fact a big lariat by Damonji that picked up the win, and just like that, it was over. So I don't know what they said in the post-match promo, but I'm sure it was emotional. But we'll see what happens until then. Excuse me. Next match, we have a women's tag team match. We have Surumi Natsu and the returning Ichika Miyabi. They take on Yuna Manaze and Risa Serra. So it's a very interesting dynamic how this match was going to be. I wasn't too sure what they were going to go with. But, however, seeing Ichika Miyabi back is great. Those who don't know, she is, in fact, a transgender. She recently took some time off to get her surgery, and apparently she is back. For her to team up with Surumi Natsu, I have to say is great. But, however, you got, of course, Yuna Manaze. Many of you seen her. She is part of Gambari Pro, but at the same time, you all know her as she trained some of the wrestlers that we know today, like Tam, Natsupoi, Unagi, Sayuri Inouye, and many others. You look at Risa Serra, Deathmatch Queen, so you probably can guess who's going to have the much better advantage. But it was, of course, Risa Serra with a diving double knee drop onto Miyabi to pick up the win. Our next match, this one is a pretty good one, I'm not going to lie. We have the boss of P.P.P Tokyo, Kabuto Mitomi, taking on Joji Otani. Now, Joji Otani, he's a very impressive wrestler. I mean, don't count out his size because the dude may be small. I mean, I'm not saying like he's Rey Mysterio small. I mean, he is a very small wrestler, but he knows how to stand out, how to bring in exactly in the ring what he needs to do. And I thought he has pulled off some pretty good matches, but he's facing the boss himself. I mean, Mitomi would have put him away sooner or later, but Otani, he refuses to stay down, but he was able to pick up the win when he applied a frog splash on Mitomi. It was a pretty good one. Now, at first, I don't know, wasn't too sure what's going to happen after the post match. Otani, he just looked at him and just left. I don't know if he was like, whatever. I don't know. I couldn't tell from what he was doing, but it was a pretty good one. Now, our main event, we have women's tag team action. Team number 1, we have Zones and Chanyota, better known as the Muscle Sisters. They take on Saya Iida from Stardom and Ryo Mizunami. Now, of course, this match was a bit of throwing chops, power, the whole thing. I often say, Saya Iida, do not underestimate her because of her size. She may be small, but she is tough as nails. I mean, you've seen her, what she can do. Ryo Mizunami, well, you know her. I mean, she's been around the game. Then you look at Zones, who has about maybe a year or two of experience. She teams up with Chanyota, who also has a similar type of course, of experience, but they both stand out pretty well. But unfortunately, it was Chanyota who actually ended up taking the fall when, what was it? Iida applied like a somewhat modified version of a muscle buster, and just like that, it was over. So, needless to say, I think the best matches were the last two ones for me, but that's how I would see it. We'll see what happens on the next show. They haven't made an announcement yet, but I'm sure we'll get to that as soon as possible. But for now, we'll leave things as it is and move on with our last and final review, and I believe that is NXT. Okay, NXT. It opened up with the NXT tag team titles. Now, originally it was supposed to be the Rascals versus Axiom and Frazier. However, due to some circumstances, the match did not happen. Behind the scenes, it was said that it was, of course, Trey Miguel got injured, and then the Street Profit stepped up the game. Now, the match was pretty good. A lot of high spots on this one, no matter where it was. It seems like this would have been a good match to continue on, but unfortunately, this match was later ended in no contest due to the insult of the Bloodline. We don't know why they're there, but I can guess that Solo Sikoa, the tribal chief, is sending a direct message to NXT in some capacity. So we will see what happens down the road with them. Now, once again, NXT Anonymous recorded a moment where, of course, the Don of NXT, Tony D'Angelo, was talking to someone, but we cannot see the individual face, giving him money in order to take out Obafemi. So we will see who that hired gun is. Now, our next match, I think this is one that many of you wanted to see. Julia versus Chelsea Green. So Julia makes her in-ring debut. Well, Chelsea Green slapped Julia, but oh my god. Now, I wasn't too sure about this because Julia headbutted her completely. There were moments where you can tell Julia was in control of the match, tried to bring slaughter to her, but of course Chelsea Green actually did try to make a comeback, but it was no good at some point until Julia put her in the Northern Lights bomb, and just like that, it was over. But we did see Julia on two moments in this entire programming. The second time is when she come across Jordynne Grace. I wouldn't be surprised if she challenged her for the TNA Knockouts World Title. That's something we could definitely see. And the second time is, of course, when she was talking with Ava, the general manager Ava, along with Funaki being her translator. Roxanne Perez is telling her, oh, we're not this is my division. But Julia tells her that you're scared, and you should be. I mean, she is scared. Even if Roxanne cannot admit it, she is scared. She knows what kind of person, but Roxanne is too confident to believe that she will walk out, that there's no way Julia's going to defeat her. Many people think that maybe it will happen. Now, we do see a bit of an interview with Trick Williams. He has two things on his mind. Right now is of course, the last man standing match, which is a match he's not too familiarized with. He knows Pete Dunne has been in these, but however, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters to him is trying to regain the NXT title. So that's been obvious. Now we do see a moment, of course, of Lexus King at the barbershop getting his little beard all trimmed up or whatever. But unfortunately, once it was finished, uh, he was attacked by Oro Mensa. Basically, payback for that match that for that, and of course, insulting his dad. So that sort of thing. Now, of course, the obvious question we ask ourselves: who is going to be the lucky competitor to take on, of course, Jordan Grace? So you see the women's locker room are like already stretched out, and of course, Kilani Jordan, being a good friend to Lola Vice, knows how much is important to her as well. And then Fatal Influence, being they think they're the leaders of the locker room. I have to say, I have to agree with Lola Vice. If you're the so-called leaders, why aren't you guys preparing yourself for an opportunity of this title? So you can say that maybe Fatal Influence are full of it. So who knows? But they do have some excellent point. Now our next match, we have the NXT Heritage Cup. Javon Evans, he has Cedric Alexander's corner. Then, of course, Charlie Dempsey, no quarter catch crew. Now, the first round actually ended up with nobody making a win or anything. It just went into time limit, and then later, second round, it was Dempsey with a dragon suplex. Then, the third round, it was Javon Evans with his high flying move that ended it. Fourth round ended with no one winning, and then finally in the fifth, that's when things got chaotic. Miles Bourne tries to get involved. Cedric Alexander handling his business. Now, things could have gone Javon Evans' way, but Ren Sinclair distracted the ref without even realizing. We were surprised that Tavion Heights made his return from Japan, give Evans the belly-to-belly suplex, but this allowed Dempsey to pick up the win by pinfall, and just like that, Charlie Dempsey retained the belt. The Heritage Cup, my bad. Now, of course, ahead of the Iron Man title, the Iron Man, the last man standing, my bad, Ethan Page has he probably feels that he doesn't want to face neither, but the one person he feels that he should not get an opportunity of the title is, of course, Trick Williams. So basically that's the answer right there. Now our next match, we have Obafemi waiting to see who's going to be the Don's hired gun, and that person turned out to be from TNA, Alex Hammerstone. So this was also a house fight that you wouldn't expect. But of course, the Don was watching this, making sure that his hired gun does exactly what he did. But unfortunately, it didn't go exactly like how he would have hoped for, because it was Obafemi with the pop-up powerbomb, and just like that, it was over, leaving the Don displeased. Now, Hank and Tank had a little nice discussion with, of course, with Mr. Stone and Stevie Turner, asking, we want another shot. We want a shot at the OCs for what they did. Remember, they were involved in that number one contendership match, but they were screwed over. Now, Chase U are pissed with what Ridge Holland has did. Now, the entirety of the match between Ridge Holland and Duke Hudson, oh man, Ridge Holland was greatly brutalizing Duke, and not to mention took out Riley Osborne, leaving Thea Hale like distraught, like she's trying to tell him to stop. Even though he picked up the win with the Redeemer, Ridge Holland refuses to stop, so he continued to dismantle everybody from Chase U. So leaving Thea Hale like doesn't know what to do. Now, Wesley comes out and he revealed that the reason that the Rascals did not get their opportunity, he confessed that he took out Trey Miguel. It makes perfect sense to put in the story that way, but he did state that he wants a street fight with Zachary Wentz at the CW show in Chicago. So we'll get to that at some point. Now, the TNA Knockouts World Title in an open challenge. Who did Jordynne Grace have to face? Well, she met this person on day one at NXT, Soruka. I have to say it was a pretty good match. I mean, she did apply the Soul Snatcher, but it had no effect. But this match went into total darkness and ended in a no disqualification without the sinister duo of Wendy Chu and Rosemary, of course, being there. So that caused the whole thing. Now, speaking of Wendy Chu and Rosemary, well, Tatum Paxley is trying to be friends with Lyria and all this, so they want to get their hands on both Wendy Chu and Rosemary. So we'll see what happens. Let's continue on. Okay. Now, we do see Brooks Jensen had a little talk with Dion Lennox, trying to tell him that Shawn Spears is gaslighting him. Now, Jensen wants to know what did he means by that. So he tries to explain it to him. Even Shawn Spears showed up asking him, "Are you guys friends?" Like, we're not friends. But Lennox knows that Shawn Spears is gaslighting him. But once again, Spears trying to manipulate him that, is he really a true friend and that sort of thing. But we'll see what happens until then. Now, Eddie Thorpe, as you know, was hanging out with the lovely ladies. And, of course, the jealous Ashata Adonis was not having it. So basically, he's like, no girl wants to... He's like that one guy that you know is like, okay, he wants to go on a date with someone, but no one wants to. So, yeah. So he's looking for a way. But we'll see. Now, our main event is the last man standing. Trick Williams versus Pete Dunne. Of course, Pete Dunne was going to brutalize him, try to find ways to dismantle him in every way possible to ensure he gets what he wants and to teach Trick Williams a lesson to stop bitching about how to get your title back. I mean, I know that, of course, Trick didn't ask him for advice, but he was going to do it on his own, and that's exactly what was tried. Ethan Page, who does not want to see Trick Williams win it, tried to get involved, but he got tossed to the commentary table, and just like that, it was over. But it was Trick Williams who was the last man standing. So he will meet Ethan Page at Chicago, but next week he'll be doing a contract signing. Now, Ava Raine was on the phone with somebody. It was foretold that, of course, we will see CM Punk in Chicago, but he will appear next week in NXT. So I think many of us are going to ask ourselves what's going to happen then. So we just got to wait and see. But we are done right now with every of our last reviews. So let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with the upcoming events from the promotions. Now, majority of it right now is GCW, as always. Now, as you know, on the 14th of September, this coming weekend, we have the Detroit event, Bad One. It was announced the Gringo Loco will be in action. They take on Man Like the Reese. And then, of course, the following day in Rochester, New York, the G Code on the 15th of September, we have, of course, Infinity and Beyond taking on the Pillars. And finally, the Denver show on October 17th, War Ready, it was announced that Dulce Tormenta and Jack Evans have been announced. They are booked for that particular event. And then finally, as you know, we have the collaboration between all three promotions, West Coast Pro, Deadlock Pro Wrestling, and Prestige for the Roseland 9. It was announced that the Prestige World title will be defended. You have Alan Angels defending the belt against Mustafa Ali. This is going to be a very interesting one. I wouldn't be surprised if Mustafa Ali cheats his way through to get this belt. And I'm sure that could happen. Now, let's jump into our developments. NWA Exclusive has announced that they signed Magic Jake Dumas, so he is still sticking around with the promotion. GLEAT, the Japanese promotion GLEAT, has announced for their upcoming event in Osaka in next month on October 6th, Ricochet will be making his debut, and he'll be teaming up with someone from his Dragon Gate days. We're talking about Shima. So those who don't know this, Ricochet, before going to Japan, he has wrestled for Dragon Gate, and that's really great right there. Now, I did mention Trey Miguel is injured, so unfortunately he'll be out for a while. So, uh, have a speedy recovery. Now, Meiko Satomura did an interview with Tokyo Sports. She eventually revealed that she would like to create a heyday of women's pro wrestling before she dies, explaining how she didn't experience the best period when the Crush Gals were on top. This is what she said. She also said that she wants to scout and create the big star by herself while she seeing the Budokan and other venues overflowing the fans. That's, as you know, she'll be retiring next year on April of 2025. So we'll see how that rolls up. Now, of course, we had the PW Insider top thingy for going on. Now they announced the top color commentators. Now this is who they have. We have number 1, Nigel McGuinness of AEW. 2, Wade Barrett from WWE. 3, Caprice Coleman of Ring of Honor. 4, Matthew Renrold from TNA. Taz from AEW. Pat McAfee at number 6 from WWE. Booker T. Hugo Savinovich from AAA. Vita Scott, New Japan. And of course, Matt Menard, AEW. So, yeah, so Nigel McGuinness is number 1 in the top spot. And now for, of course, the top 10 in the 500 listing. For number 10, we have Mystico. Number 9, Gunther. Number 8, John Moxley. Number 7, MJF. Number 6, Damian Priest. Number 5, Tetsuya Naito. Number 4, Seth Rollins. Number 3, Will Ospreay. Number 2, Swerve Strickland. And number 1, Cody Rhodes. So yeah, so those are the 500 for the top 10 in the 500 of Pro Wrestling Insider. So that's what we have for right now for that. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have AEW Dynamite. I do hear that there is another New Japan show. I may review that one, so we'll get to that. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to do a third one because I'm behind on certain events, especially coming from the Yoshi wrestling scene. We'll see how that rolls up for now, but right now we'll just leave things as it is and move forward from there. So I'll leave things as it is, and until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.